Hello, everybody, and welcome back. It is the middle of a snowing apocalypse here, so figured might as well jump back into continuing to work on the RPG. So, without further ado, let's just kind of go ahead and jump right back on into it. How about it? So last time we cleaned up the Berserker class here, did a couple of tweaks on the Anointed as well, and overall I'm feeling pretty good about both of them. Excuse me. So the Duelist is one of the classes that has had kind of the rougher hand over the last couple iterations of the game, in that it just kind of continually gets reworked, despite being a rather good a rather necessary class, I'd say. Actually, let me... Yeah, no, I don't need to draw a diagram to argue this point. So we have a lot of kind of melee weapon-focused classes. We have a lot of kind of your arcane spellcasters and divine classes, a couple primals. But the Duelist is supposed to be your dex-based martial weapon-focused class, as opposed to the Pugilist, which is your dex-based unarmed class. I know it's a limited distinction there, but the Pugilist is going to reward you for more brash, well, more unarmed combat maneuvers, whereas the Duelist is going to be all about style and panache and that sort of thing. So we're going to be kind of going into the Duelist as it is. Yeah. Okay, so the Duelist as it is needs a bit of work. That's fine. That's what we're here for. Duelist. Power source is going to be entirely martial as a Duelist. We'd set them as primarily a leader, secondary a controller. I do like this, and I think that is going to be something that we are going to keep and work on tweaking the class to further those points. So leader is going to be all about granting other actions to your maneuver, to your party members, so getting different maneuvers kind of on the field, getting things queued up in that way. Controller is all about limiting the actions of your opponent, and through the Duelist, that's going to be through doing flashy sword fighting maneuvers. As a Duelist, you gain focus with your charisma and either strength or dexterity. That is fair. We'll probably have... Let's just copy the info here for the nicknaming clause. I don't know if it's going to necessarily get translated over, but I figure might as well have it. Focus with their strength. Well, it's gonna be charisma and you don't know. We're gonna keep with the organization of ability scores in order with their strength and charisma. Are known as strength and charisma. I don't have a good name off the top of my head, so I'm just gonna write X's there. Who have focus with their dexterity and charisma. Nope, do not try and delete that part of the table. Just going to go there. Known as X's as well. Realistically, one of these is going to be nicknamed Swashbuckler because that was previously the name for the class. Hit die. Duelists are 1d10s. 10 plus con plus origin. 1d10 or 6. Okay, then we have flat bonuses to your might, agility, and spellcraft here. Okay, so duelists are dex based. Okay, sorry, I need to think this through just because duelists are kind of going to be a bit more charisma dex based, and so they're probably going to be making more agility rolls, whereas pugilists are also going to be more dex based, but they're probably going to be making more might rolls. I'm trying to make sure I get the distinction in that sort of line figured out, because it took me a while to clarify it, and I don't have the world's greatest memory, so yeah. So might here. Yeah, so I have notes on what they are. Those are just the exploits for the pugilist class. So our pugilist threw acrobatics into might, and also the option for. Okay. Okay. I definitely agree with spellcraft getting thrown to presence for everybody. I don't think you're going to really have that used that much, but I agree with, throwing it that way. I don't think we're going to go from might, because I think our main attacks are going to be agility based. So I think streetwise, sticks around for agility. So I think we're gonna kill this streetwise for might. Duelists get light armor, medium armor, and shield. At least in our previous version. No, I think we're gonna just keep light armor, medium armor. I don't think we're gonna go for shields. Simple weapons. Okay, so we also have an interesting clause here for weapon properties. We have simple weapons and martial weapons with the finesse or versatile properties. So what is meant here is all simple weapons simple weapons, comma, and martial weapons with the finesse or versatile property. Because the with finesse and versatile property is only affecting martial weapons, not simple weapons. So it's all simple weapons and martial weapons with those properties. Trained equal to charisma modifier here. Ooh, there we go. Class features table here. Duelist class features. Do we have any? We do. Spellcraft level. Why do you have spellcraft on here? Yeah, you straight up do not. Okay, so we're just gonna kind of have to go through that for a second. Okay, so let's just get rid of the berserker information here. And our one thing was called Duelist's Grit. Okay, Duelist archetype. And Duelist archetype. So what is a duelist's archetype called? It's a great question because I don't remember and it's not showing up here. Excuse me, sorry, I cough. Give me 1 second as I pull up my Discord here. No. Okay. Where is that data? pin it? No, I sure didn't. Actually, it's probably here in this Discord document. Okay. I mean, yeah, classes probably. Okay, so we're talking wizards. Nope, for some reason that information didn't get transferred over. Fine. Okay. Okay, so doing a quick search of my channel in Discord that I used to keep a lot of track on notes here. He's talking about archetype naming. And so, while I didn't update it to say duelist, the original name being swashbuckler, their archetype name was a mark. So, just go ahead and plug that in here. Duelist mark. So archetype here gets swapped for mark. Once again, maybe this is until I find something better, but right now it works, I think. Boom, there we go. All right. Classes. Oh, there it is. Duelist mark. Okay. Thank you, past me. Okay, so just a flat damage bonus? That's rather simple. Okay. Not going to question it right now. That seems a little bit, what's the word? Anticlimactic. Uninteresting. But we're going to go ahead and just kind of do a quick copy paste over here as that is. All right, so let's just bring this on over first. Panache. This is our core ability. This is our core ability, but it is also our heroic resource. Boom. So, Panache is a reflection of a duelist's flair when performing daring and dangerous exploits. This determination and swagger is represented by a number of panache points. Panache is a dynamic resource that ebbs and flows based on a duelist's actions amidst the flow of combat. Sorry, I've been having a lot of nasal congestion, so I've been trying to minimize that with some allergy medicine and such, but it is what it is. Gaining panache, and this is using the already formatted sort of berserker manner. However, are we gaining and expending is our language, so we're gaining panache and using, so no expending. There we go. Gaining. If you're not incapacitated at the start of your turn, you gain panache based on the number of hostile creatures within 5 feet that you can perceive. Okay, so that's very much like our berserker. It's gain. Okay. Inversely proportional to the number of hostile creatures near them. You get 3 panache when facing off against a single opponent, 2 when 2 or 3, or 1 when 4 or more. So this is incentivizing one-on-one duels. Once gained, a panache point lasts for 10 minutes. That should be fine. That shouldn't actually cause any issues, just because combats don't actually take that amount of time in world. We're keeping the 6-second turns, and so 10 minutes is 6 seconds, so 1 minute is 10 rounds, so 10 minutes would be 100 rounds. So 100 rounds of combat. Your combat rounds, your combat encounters are probably not going to go for 100 rounds without you spending some panache. So that shouldn't last. That shouldn't worry about anything. And I think that this text line here is just saying you're not going to be carrying panache from combat to combat. Unless they're like immediately back to back, like you fight a bandit camp and then like just slightly down the hill is another bandit camp, in which case that would absolutely be a sort of duelist thing. You fight through a camp, then you slide down the mountain into another camp to continue fighting. I think that's fair. That's fine. You can keep some panache. All right. So expending panache. Once per turn, when you make a melee or ranged weapon attack against a creature, your attack deals additional damage based on the number of panache points spent as a part of the attack. And so this is just 1d6 up to 5d6. Okay, so this is something that I really liked from the D&D 2024 Rogue. Yes, and so it's actually something that I had originally worked on for the Ranger in this game, and I just brought it over because it is a wonderful mechanic that I genuinely and deeply love. This is a fantastic piece of technology that Wizards of the Coast has made available to us. So when you would deal damage with your panache, you can add one of the following effects. Each of the effects has a die cost, which is the number of panache dice you must forego to add the effect. You remove the die before rolling, and the effect occurs immediately after the damage is dealt. So, our abilities here are open. As a part of the attack, you expend 1d6 of panache to take the tag team action and create an opening for one of your allies to act. And so that is usually pretty good, because usually the tag team action requires you throwing down an entire minor action, and so now you just get this as a part of your attack. And so you still get your minor actions, you just make an opening for an ally. And now, if you just do this with the 1d6, you are creating an opening for your ally by sacrificing some damage, but theoretically their damage is going to overcome the 1d6 that you are dropping. So really this is a damage, a DPS raised boon. However, if you just drop 1d6, your tag team action goes on cooldown, and so you really can't use this multiple times. However, if you drop 2d6, once again, you're dropping a little bit more damage in your DPS race, but your tag team action does not go on cooldown. So you can repeat this. So like if you are working with another party member like really closely, you make an opening for them, so you're sacrificing your damage, but then on their turn they can immediately like do a major action, then they tag team to major action again. And so like you should be able to increase damage output by doing this, even though it is inherently dropping your DPS. It is a very good leader, charisma focused leader ability, as far as I can see it. Shift, dropping 1d6 damage. As a part of the attack, you can move up to 10 feet without provoking opportunity attacks. This movement can happen before or after you spend panache to attack the creature. Okay. Yeah, so you can shift into the space and then attack them. Okay. Sorry, I just had to read through that and make sure I understood what I was going for. So basically you can you're going to be like, I'm going to make an attack against this target 3 squares away. I shift into this space, I attack. And so yeah. And so you would be spending panache. But yeah. Vitalize. Until the start of your next turn, you can take the second wind action as a minor action. Yeah. I think we're going to keep that there. I believe that the pugilist is going to straight up get second wind as a minor action, just wholesale. And so this is a good way of adding that sort of decremented ability time spend to this class, but at a bit of a cost, so it's not inherently stepping on like the pugilist's thing. Disarm 2d6. As a part of the attack, the target of your attack must succeed on a dexterity sleight of hand resistance roll against your might TN, or drop one art item of your choice that it is holding. No. As a no. As a part of the attack, the target of your attack. Okay, let's check our actions here, just because this does feel a little funky. And once again, I'm going to go back to the shove ability because that was previously a resistance roll. You make a check against a hostile creature and push them according to the result of your roll. So as a part of your attack, okay. When you take... No, because we don't have that clause in here. You make your... okay. So I have an answer here. Okay. Disarm. When you make an agility attack, you use your sleight of hand dexterity modifier instead of your agility attack attribute. If you attack, your attack is... No. If you hit your opponent with a tier 3 or tier 4 success, don't like that language. If your attack roll you make an agility attack and you use your sleight of hand dexterity modifier. Sorry. When making an agility attack, you use your sleight of hand dexterity modifier. Man, this... I'm sorry. This language is reading off as kind of funky to me. As a part of the attack, you expend 1d6 of panache. When making an agility attack, yeah, why does open have the cost built into here? Because it has the second clause. That's why. When making an agility attack, you use your sleight of hand dexterity modifier instead of your agility attack attribute. Okay, so you use your modifier to attempt to disarm your opponent. Disarm your opponent. If your attack roll, your attack if result of your attack is tier 3 or higher, the target of your attack must drop one item of your choice that it is holding. If you use your sleight of hand, you use your sleight of hand dexterity modifier instead of your agility attack attribute to attempt to disarm your opponent. Making an attack roll, you use your sleight of hand dexterity mod. There we go. If the result of your attack is tier 3 or higher, the target of your attack must drop one item of your choice that it is holding. There we go. Alright, trip attack. As a part of the attack, the target of your attack must succeed on a dexterity acrobatics resistance roll against your might TN or be knocked prone. Nope. As a part of the attack, okay. When making an attack roll, you use your what skill would this be? Would it be acrobatics to try and knock someone prone? I feel like that's fair. Um, you use your performance. I do like that. So it's either performance or acrobatics. Acrobatics is already an agility thing. It's already like built into the agility attack attribute. So let's roll with performance. Use your performance charisma modifier instead of your agility attack attribute to attempt to trip up your opponent. To trip your opponent. If the result of your attack is tier 3 or higher, the target of your attack is knocked prone. There we go. So those two are slightly more circumstantial, but it means you're going to be modifying your attack roll. It means, yeah, no, I am all for that. All right. Okay. So, the annoying part is that is as far as our most up-to-date duelist class. Excuse me. Most up-to-date duelist class got. So let's go ahead and shift over to our next most recent one, back when it was called Swashbuckler. Dang, this is... Hang on, this is pugilist stuff. Right? I'm not losing my mind here, right? Pugilist has grit. Oh no. Oh wow. Yeah, no, that's not at all what it is. So we had an entire heroic resource that we just scrapped. I mean, let's go ahead and look through it. Grit. Grit is a reflection of a swashbuckler's flair when performing daring and dangerous exploits. Number of grit points. Grit is ebbs and flows. Swashbuckler level determines the starting and maximum number of grit points you have. And you spend grit points to perform maneuvers. Okay, so you just spend it to make maneuvers here. To make 2 attacks as a minor action or 1 additional attack as part of the same action. Yeah, because we got rid of multi-attack. So this doesn't make any sense anymore. 1 grit to take dodge or hide as a minor action on your turn. I don't hate that. I actually kind of like the you spend 1 to take the dodge action. Actually, let's just make a note of this. Open shift. Let's go ahead and create a new one here called evade. Is dodge or hide a major action? For one, let's check that. I mean, I feel like they would be, but hide. Hide is a major action. Okay. And dodge. Does not appear to even be an action anymore. If it ever was in the first place. Because dodge is a 5e action. Might just be referencing that. Oh, there's only one instance of the word dodge? That doesn't seem right. Do we have an action that is just straight up get out of the way? Disengage would allow you to move. Not a bad thing to have. Like an action that would make it harder to hit. Sorry, this is genuinely kind of baffling me. Yeah, I think, well, should we have a dodge action? That's another important question. Should we add in a new action just for dodging? Don't hate the idea. You can take, till the start of your next turn, you can take the disengage, dodge, or hide action as a minor action. I do like that as an ability. Now you might be wondering why I pushed these down here, because I think maybe we throw these onto subclasses. Because like these do kind of read a bit more like specializations. I know disarm is a flourish that you can do with some weapons, so it's possible that you already just have that, so you're not going to need it from your class necessarily. So I think by throwing this onto a subclass, you can do something more fun with that. But let's go ahead and actually roll to create a dodge action. Because once again, I feel like that's something that we either would have or insert row below here. Dodge. It's going to be an add. Excuse me. Thank you. Weirdo. Okay. Dodge. At will. You. Prepare yourself for oncoming attacks. Presenting a nimble defense. Prepare yourself to evade oncoming attacks, presenting a nimble defense. That's a perfectly fine description. This row here, we're gonna have to do this because we don't have selective coloring. This is gonna suck just a little bit. All right, so let's go ahead and make all of that transparent. Dodge is gonna be light gray. Escape grapple isn't. Normal grapple is. Ready in action is. Second wind is. Stabilize the dying is. So dodge comes right after disengage. So we're going to go ahead and jump down here to disengage. Okay, one space in between, one space there. Dodge. Okay. When you take the dodge action, you present a nimble defensive stance to your opponents. When your opponents would attack you, your readiness forces them to attack at a disadvantage. All right. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and copy this text box here. Boom. There we go. You don't have space after that, do you? Yes, you do. We just have that there. Okay, so dodge, basic action, at will. Major action here. Oh, my apologies there. I usually try to mute that, but just didn't get to. Okay, so dodge. At will, major action, target, self, implement, none, range, self. You ready yourself against opponent. This is melee weapon attacks. Until the start of your next turn, attacks against you have disadvantage tier 1. Usually this would just be disadvantage, just because there's no need to call it out as tier 1 if it's just disadvantage. Have disadvantage. There we go. Remove one of those spaces. There we go. So now we have a dodge action. Okay. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it, but because this is disengage, dodge, or hide, it makes it better. It's easier to work with. So this is still a useful bit. Class archetype. There's nothing here. Okay. That's fine. We're filling in holes. Okay, so let's go ahead and just kind of collect this bit from the Berserker here. I'm gonna just put a space there and kind of, we're gonna come back to it. Duelist mark. Second level duelist feature. Class archetype. Yep. Okay. Sorry, I just wanted to make sure that said duelist on the other ones instead of like Berserker or something, but since we copied it from our legacy document here, we're good. Duelist mark. Okay, when you reach second level, you embrace a primal spirit that calls to you. That's not what it is here. You do you receive training? Because that would imply something happening during the adventure or during your downtime. Yeah, I'm gonna say it. You receive training to hone your skills, hone your martial and theatrical skills. Tone and direct. Tone and direct your martial and theatrical skills. Your duelist mark. Grants you features at 2nd and again at 5th and 8th. Let's just go ahead and drop all of the descriptions. I don't know if we're going to be filling those back in, but I do have pulled from my Discord notes what these what the duelist marks would have been from previous versions. So let's go ahead and just plug those in, and we'll just kind of talk it out. Here we have the mark of the inward eye. This is your investigator class. This is sort of like a Sherlock Holmesy kind of guy. You've got flair, but like you're going to be solving crimes or like learning about your opponents as you attack them. So you're going to be figuring out what their weaknesses are. You're going to be identifying, strengths, vulnerabilities, etc. If you've played the probably this is going to be something like the Cobalt Soul Monk. If you've played that subclass in 5e. Then we have the mark of Midnight Steel. This is your I have it written here as phase defense. I'm not sold on that. This feels a bit more grimdark, bit more gritty, bit more stabby. To use terminology from Draw Steel, this feels more like a shadow subclass, so that's going to be a bit more of your rogue. Then we also have the mark of the Tactician, and this would be your Battlemaster. So, I mean, this is going to be calling for different things on the battlefield a little bit more. And then we had mark of the Thief. There we go. And so that's going to be, roguey stuff, stealing stuff. Now, we do have an entire class that is the rogue. And I know that didn't actually exist when I was last working on the Swashbuckler / Duelist. So these subclasses might need some tweaking to, maintain their niche, if it were. But yeah, the reason I'm willing to kind of hold on to this right now is because kind of nicely this does match up well with our 3 duelist maneuvers here, are our panache maneuvers that we set aside, because Vitalize, that kind of feels like a striker focused Midnight Steel sort of thing, but I could also see it being a bit of a tactician thing, just as sort of fighter taking a bit of extra healing for themselves. Disarm feels very thief coded, just because you're knocking something that they're holding, whether that be a weapon, whether that be, I don't know, an item, and then onto the ground so that you could snatch it. Trip I can see this kind of being, again, a little bit tactician coded. I can also see this perhaps being investigator coded. Like you are maybe chasing someone down and then you trip them so that you can either catch up to them, in a sort of stop thief sort of manner. So I do see things like that. So yeah. Obviously, we would then need to create one more for the fourth subclass, but I think we could figure that out. I think we can figure that out pretty handily. Um, Vitalize for Midnight Steel, a Disarm for Thief, Trip, or Inward Eye, and create a new one for the Tactician. Honestly, maybe we take Open as the Tacticians. Because then you're directing, you're leading others to attack. I mean, then we would need to make a new basic maneuver, but I think that that's a pretty good way to do it. Yeah, I think that that's how it should be. I think that Open is our Tactician one. Okay, so right now it's getting a bit late and I have to go cook dinner. So I'm going to go ahead and put a pause on what we're working on now and go take care of that. But thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Bye. Bye-bye. Thank you. Thanks for watching.